Hello and welcome to the Sim Shack, you magnificent bunch of simulation fans. Recently, one person asked me to put together a tutorial for the cranes in ships at sea. And being the nice and helpful guy that I am, here it is. So, before you can use any crane in ships at sea, you must first unlock the Tier 1 crane operator's ability. As the game evolves, we will see Tier 2 and Tier 3 cranes become operational. Each level will cost an extra skill point. Level 1 cranes can lift any medium-sized cargo, for example, a newly added 1,000 kilogram bag of fish food. Each level 1 crane area has 4 spawn points, indicated here in the bottom right-hand corner. When you look at the spawned cargo, it will be slightly more towards one crane or another. Walk up to a level 1 crane and press the E key in order to use it. Sadly, right now, trying to use the incorrect crane will not allow you to move the cargo. I do wish they would drop all of these arcade nonsense and just enable simulation-driven restrictions. I'd say if you can reach it with a crane, you can move it with the crane, but that's not how things work right now. You can only place cargo in specific areas, which does, in my humble opinion, detract somewhat from the immersion. Controls of the crane are always shown here on the left hand side. I'll discuss what you could do with these controls in more detail in a bit, but for now, we'll just keep it simple. Extend the crane arm with the R key and retract with the F key, move the crane left and right with the A and D keys, lower the hook with S and raise it with W, and rotate it when you've got cargo on with Z and X. Once cargo is loaded onto the boat, however, if you dock closer to another crane, you will be able to use that different crane in order to move the cargo. So it is capable of being realistic, but there's an arcadey gameplay restriction which has been artificially added. Unfortunately, each boat has a certain area which will accept cargo. Anything outside of that area will not be permitted. Again, I just wish they would use simulation restrictions. Will it physically fit? And then use the weight to impact the boat's stability and buoyancy. Although, to some extent, the weight and positioning of heavy cargo will impact your boat. If you load too much weight onto one side, the boat will list slightly, which will of course impact handling and overall stability. Not all boats though can take all sized cargo. Once again, I just wish they would utilise a simulation restriction. If it fits on the boat and it doesn't make it sink, then it can take the cargo. Sadly though, right now Tier 1 boats cannot take medium sized cargo, despite clearly being capable of doing so. The release of the hook is automatic. This could be very frustrating, as the waves often move the boat up and down and left and right. As soon as the cargo touches a permitted floor space, it will detach and then reattach. You can see how this gets annoying. I hope they would just add a keybind to attach and release the hook in future. It would be nice as well if in co-op mode your friend could actually walk up to and attach or detach the hook. It's important to note right now that if you buy fish food, for example, load it onto your boat and then save, when you reload the game later, the cargo you have bought will have vanished. This will be fixed, hopefully, by the end of June 2024. Right now, the positioning of your boat in the right space alongside the dock is also important. This is because the crane arms are too short when you're loading or retrieving cargo from the far side of your boat. Again, this is another pointless arcade restriction in my opinion, one which I hope gets removed. There are ways to overcome these annoying restrictions though, one of which is to pull the boat closer to the dock using the tow ropes. Almost certainly though, at some point you will need to use the rotation capability in order to effectively roll the cargo around other cargo, thus extending the reach and range of the crane. This is just arcade nonsense. I hope to see this completely removed and replaced with something more realistic. So then, placing cargo closest to you at first is the best idea, because then you can use that existing cargo to help position the rest. Try and keep things neat and tidy, obviously, because the neater and tidier it is, the more stuff you can fit on there. Be warned though, when taking delivery jobs, it isn't currently always immediately obvious how many crates are going to be spawned for each delivery. So whilst you might think that you just have 4 crates to load for the 2 locations you're going to, once you pick up the 4th crate, 2 more might suddenly appear out of nowhere. Thankfully, in the info tab you can get a clearer idea of how many crates are destined for each location. Furthermore, if you look at each cargo item, a pop-up will appear clarifying which location they are destined for. And then when you have a combination of cargo items, it's going to be tricky to get them all to fit. Prepare yourself for some extreme Tetris gameplay. When you're offloading cargo, you're going to have to kind of do the same thing. It may even be necessary to get on the boat and turn the boat around so that you can get access to some of the cargo items that are further away. Obviously, loading cargo on the same side you anticipate pulling into the aforementioned dock will make your life easier. Thankfully, some kind of physics do exist on the hook, so moving it forwards and backwards or swinging it left and right can gain the range that the hook has. But it's a bit hit and miss, obviously, the way things are at the moment. When you place cargo onto the dock, make sure you've picked up the correct 4, because once they're down and there's no space left to do it, you're going to have to start loading stuff off the dock back onto the boat and vice versa. So just try and lift up the correct crates for the correct location and just avoid the nightmare that these arcade restrictions place upon us. I would much prefer it just be a case of, you know, here's a very large area where craned items could be placed. Just offload whatever you want, wherever you like, but please put it neatly in that space when you've finished. That would be so much more realistic and so much more fun for me, anyway. I think that's pretty much everything I can mention. Hopefully this tutorial has been helpful for you and helped to clarify all that you need to know about using cranes as they are at the moment. Let me know if I've forgotten to mention anything, and as things change over time, I will look to revisit this and see if there's anything to add. Hopefully, given time, the devs will take a more simulation-based approach to crane behaviour. Until then, boys and girls, rotate away.